got a friend of mine out on the East Coast. He's always worried about bananas, you know, because he thinks they're hard to pack. Oh, you got round shapes and things like that, but you got Tupperware. You can't really put the shape in the right shape.
There's only one place you can put a banana where it fits really nice.
Not quite sure where you're going with that one, but I'll just keep, you know, on my track.
Yeah.
He's developed this stuff, Tupperware shape for bananas there. And he had some goofy name for it, but I came up with the right name for it. I think you should call it Banana Armor. And then the umbrella company is called Fruit Suit. What do you think of that?
For me, the Cord Belize case got going once I met the man who knew Cord very well and could show me the truth of Cord's murder in 1967.
Mr. Hoover had no interest at all in the UFO question. I know this for a fact because he summoned me to his office on May 23rd, 1967, and he said, Mr. Davis, you are in charge of finding out if there's anything to this UFO question. And I said, well, Mr. Belize is actually in charge of that. And he said, well, Mr. Davis, Mr. Belize was found in the back, in the trunk, I should say, of a 62 Chevy in Cleveland yesterday. He is no longer with us. We think it may have been some kind of pinko plot. And he said, well, Mr. Davis, you are now in charge of our end of the UFO investigation. Your duty will be to liaise with the USAF, which is to say the United States Air Force, and to talk to their intelligence staff and to find out from them what the progress of their UFO investigation might be. And I said, well, Mr. Hoover, I'm honored to take on this responsibility, and I guarantee I will do my best. He said, well, Mr. Davis, I appreciate that, but in these times of communist infiltration and the war in Southeast Asia and all this student what was the word he used? Traitorous activities by student organizations, etc. out, say, in Berkeley and various other campuses across the country. We have to be very careful about whom we can trust. People who say they're American, people who are American, are not necessarily American. And that's basically what he was trying to convey to me. I accepted the assignment with, well, I had no choice really, because my pension was coming up, and I didn't want to have to, you know, jeopardize the great future I had ahead of me after retiring from the Bureau.
That was time when you were friends with Cord then as well?
Oh yeah, I knew Cord.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long you guys go back then?
Oh, we went back all the way to the 1950s. We were the same graduating year of the FBI Academy.
Oh, same
57.
same year, eh? Now let me take you down here. I want to show you a little spot down here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's a place down here that we used to like to visit frequently.
I love those frequent visits. Those places that you can feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Lately I've been feeling a little bit pressured.
Oh.
I've been being asked questions about Cord Belize and his demise. As you can imagine, that is something that we thought was buried.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, you know, there was some strong evidence they were putting out there, but you know, I understand there are some people that have.
Some people have knowledge that they're conveying to this video filmmaker named Johnny Rhombus. Has he talked to you yet?
Well, he gave me a call there, but you know, not quite sure. That's what kind of wanted to talk to you and find out what that was all about, because you know, I don't feel too comfortable with people snooping around, asking me questions.
How I feel about it. I've had to talk to this guy several times.
Well, that's just what I'm asking. You know, why are you looking? You know, why are you talking to him?
Because sometimes you can get some information out without seeming to.
Yeah.
I think that this is an opportunity to do so. I've been sworn to secrecy on so many things, I can't even keep track of them anymore.
You just know a gal who lived down there at that house.
Who's that?
Old friend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. No, just a galley.
That's where I used to live.
Yeah. Hear that sound my car is making? That's not good. What you got for me there?
Look at this. This is the card Mr. Rhombus gave me. Whether Rhombus is aware of it or not,
What's going on there?
he has
This
hit
here
upon
picture.
at least 3 or 4 of our secrets. Official secrets.
So he's got some sort of multi-image. What would this be? Like a
Intergalactic salesman coming to the Earth. Aliens, sales aliens. They set up this huge operation on Earth. They introduce all kinds of artifacts into our technology.
To what benefit? How does that, you know, how does that work out for them? What are they selling, asking?
It's a corporation run by aliens.
Huh.
They're selling what to them are toys, but to us are like super powerful computer chips. You know, all the stuff that we've been developing since 1947 when we made contact with these people for the first time.
So you're saying that it wasn't really our ideas that generated all this, or was it kind of a joint thing?
Well, you know, I mean, it was imagined in science fiction, but it came to actuality.
I see you got another one there. What's that one? There you go. You can have that one.
I guess that's an image of what happened to me. It's another thing Rhombus gave me.
An image of what happened to you. These are interesting cards, you know, because they're like multi-layered and. Oh, I was looking at the wrong
This Rhombus,
way.
I understand, is a collage artist.
Oh. So he's gathering information about Cord's death, and on the side he likes to do a little collage, you're saying?
I made a boyish effort to save Blackie Gallagher's life.
You know,
I can't really talk much about this, because that's an old case, but it's got some bad smells still clinging to it, if you know what I mean. Because Cord, he wasn't killed in any ordinary kind of way. You knew he was killed, right? I suppose you read the official report, the FBI report and the Cleveland Police Department report. Yeah, well, it says there that he took a couple bullets to the head. Well, that ain't exactly true. He did take a couple things to the head, but they weren't bullets. Cord is investigating that whole UFO phenomenon. Cord got himself involved in some pretty weird stuff. And, I think it's safe to say that it wasn't anything earthly that took him out. Now, I'm not divulging any secrets by telling you that Cord, my dear friend Cord, was murdered by aliens in league with our government. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. You heard the news? Well, they want to sell water out of the Everglades. They want to preserve the water by selling the water to keep it going. Well, that's quite a deal, and they've got it set up for the next Bush administration. Praise Bush.
As they would spin, they would tell stories. And among these stories, we find a chain of prophecies sent around this spindle. And they said, someday, just before Purification Day, we will see objects or machines rolling across the ground on round things like this. And that's the time to get ready for the great testing and trial and tribulation, because it'll soon be upon us.
Cord Billy was the most charming young man I ever met. He was a beautiful man. He had blue-black hair, emerald green eyes that seemed to be reflecting the light of distant stars. He was also a very fine pool player. One might almost say he was a pool shark. That is indeed how I met him. He was in a pool hall. I was in a pool hall playing the pool with my buddies, and we found him to be the most charming young man we had ever met. His hair was blue-black, like Elvis Presley. His eyes were emerald green. We thought he was a very intelligent young man as well, because he had all kinds of knowledge about history and about the way that the world, he said, is run, because he said the world is a lot more mysterious and complicated than you realize. And I said, how's that, Cord? Bear in mind, this is after we'd known each other for a while. It was up in my apartment, in fact, that he said these words to me. He said, there's actually some pretty weird, dark things going on. I said, like what? Someday the truth will be known. Someday we'll know what really happened in 1947. I said, what are you talking about, Cord? Whatever could you mean? He said 1947 is when the National Security Act was formed. The National Security Act? "What's that?" He said, "That's when the Air Force was formed. That's when the Central Intelligence Agency was formed." A lot of things happened in 1947, including, he said, the recovery of a flying saucer from another world down in New Mexico. 2 flying saucers, he said, except they were saucer-shaped. What was the word he used? Imagine plates, or maybe trays that have been stretched out a little bit. Almost rectangular, but rounded. The government has them. We've been studying those damn things for almost 20 years. Now bear in mind, this is not too long before Cord passed away. Now, he shouldn't have been telling me this stuff, and I said, "Cord, what are you telling me this for?" He said, "Because I'm just trying to cover my back. I think that they're out to get me." I said, "Who's out to get you, Cord?" He said, the League of Combined Intelligences that runs this planet." And I said, "Cord, I know that's pretty stiff vodka, but..."
There is every possibility that in every UFO case, there is disinformation being spread. These men in black could very well be government agents. Abductions we could be hearing about could very well be staged as well, for the purpose of experimentation, for the purpose of confusion, creating confusion on subjects who would otherwise not be willing to be experimented upon. No, I assure you I never revealed any information when I liaised with the intelligence people with the Air Force. Oh, I don't even know what CIA means. I thought it meant can I acquire. I swear Nazis never had any bank accounts in Switzerland. They had no interest in maintaining their wealth after the fall of Hitler. Dulles, I assure you, had nothing to do with Odessa or getting any Nazis out of Germany. I know that they have been inserted into my brain and my spine. I can tell exactly what you're doing to me right now. However, I have no way of fighting it because I cannot move anything except my head.
So you said you haven't been feeling well lately, huh?
I've got a sugar addiction that I never used to have.
Sugar?
Yes.
Like,
Chocolate. I keep eating chocolate. I get those small little Hershey deals and I just pop them into my mouth every minute.
Huh.
I chain chew the chocolate.
You say what now?
I chain chew the chocolate.
Oh, chain chew the chocolate.
Chain chew the chocolate.
Yeah.
Outskirts, but I start to be down there.
that Mr. Hoover wanted me to do any looking into the murder of Cord Belize is kind of not really the way that you should be looking at this, Mr. Rhombus, because you see, Mr. Hoover was primarily concerned with protecting the interests of his bureau that he built up from practically nothing from the 1920s onward, and ruled with an iron hand for 50 years or so. Frankly, I can't believe that Mr. Hoover would be in the slightest bit interested in the death of a two-bit special agent such as Cord Belize was. Well, I say two-bit because Mr. Belize was completely without scruple when it came to bureau policy, which basically at that time, 1967 is the year we're talking about, said no special agent is to in any way get involved with trying to find out what's actually going on with anything in America. We're supposed to be keeping an eye on maintaining that Americans fought so hard to maintain in the first place, which is, you know, just sort of keep an eye on things, but don't get too out of touch with the primary goal, which is to, you know, prevent the people that don't want us to make as much money as we can out of this American enterprise from ever getting any influence on us, and if that's human or if that's alien, for instance, we must prevent them from doing that. If they were communists, he was certainly against them, but if they were good old, you know, reliable, that is to say, they could be counted on to get us as much money out of the deal as possible and protect the interests of the Bureau and not delve too deeply or get us involved in too many things we shouldn't be involved in. You know, like prying into cases like the kinds of things that Cord Belize was prying into. So I think that it's quite clear that Mr. Hoover was just being a good American by not getting too concerned about who exactly it was that put those two bullets into Cord Belize. And bullets? Well, maybe that's what the FBI says. I know that FBI guy that you were talking to. You think he's going to tell you the truth about this? Well, like I said, they weren't bullets. Bullets did not take out Cord Belize. They were like these energy spikes, energy capsules that were inserted into his brain after his abduction. Oh, you hadn't heard about his abduction? Yeah, well, Cord was abducted. He was taken to an underground complex somewhere in Colorado, and he was experimented upon by a research team consisting of humans and aliens, scientists. The aliens didn't have white coats on, but I guess they were dressed in their own kind of silver foil mesh uniforms, but they communicated telepathically, and they told Cord a little bit about what they were doing to him, like when they inserted all those spikes. I mean, it wasn't just into his head. They put in these little transmitters up and down his spinal column. And then they sent him back to Cleveland. And they told him, before they sent him back, Mr. Belize,
You are going to infiltrate the true menace that is threatening America at this time. And of course, what that true menace was, I mean, it's sad to say, but it was the threat that Coca-Cola might be better than Pepsi in the third world. And you know, you might wonder, why did the aliens really care about the Coca-Cola-Pepsi conflict? Well, you know, any number of reasons. I mean, why did E.T. like to eat Reese's Pieces, you know? So, Cord was sacrificed in the Cola Wars. But the Cola Wars are just earthly capitalistic version of cosmic conflict that's been going on for a very long time, and these aliens, these gray men in their silver foil uniforms, have known all along that Earth was ripe for being drawn into the cosmic conflict. Coke and Pepsi are just the latest version of that, or at least 1967 they were. I don't know what it is now. It might be computer components that they're going to war over. It might be weaponry. You know, those aliens really like a well-used and well-operating AK-47 like anybody else. Excuse me. Ever since those men in black came to visit me, there were two of them. They had kind of like brownish gray skin, and their eyes were kind of glassy looking. Almost like they were wearing sunglasses, but they weren't wearing sunglasses. They said, "You don't know Court Belize. You never knew Court Belize. Court Belize never existed. You better forget that you knew Court Belize. We're watching you, Cube. Cube. We're watching you." Well, you know, long time has passed and they haven't come back, and I don't know why they would come back. I don't even know why they'd be watching this movie that you're making. Who's gonna watch this movie that you're making, really? So I need to take this stuff. Ooh, yeah. That does the trick. Now my recommendation in regards to the death of Court Belize and your investigation is check into the cola angle. That's where you'll find the truth.
That's not his real name, of course, is an FBI agent. We all knew this back in the 1960s. He was part of that whole counterintelligence or COINTELPRO program that was instituted by J. Edgar Hoover. It's safe to say, once an FBI man, always an FBI man. Unless one is willing to go public with a tell-all book. Which I am certain Cube will never want to do, because if he were to do so, he would no doubt be taken to an underground facility like the big one in Colorado that Cord told me about, that he himself had visited not too long before he died.
This is that base I was telling you about on Mercury.
I think Cube was as much responsible for Cord's demise as whoever it was that put those objects inside Cord's body. I think what Q was trying to tell you was that Earth is a crossroads between several species. It is used as a training ground, if you will, for salesmen, sales aliens, who are learning their trade in a vast intergalactic commercial network. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Reese's Pieces are just products that have been tampered with or experimented with by these intergalactic sales aliens, putting their own expertise on, you buy or you're not anything to us kind of ethic. And I do believe that Cord stumbled upon something that was so profitable for the powers that be that he sacrificed by those damned aliens and humans in league with aliens. And Cord was trying to expose them. He was trying to make it into his own private war. I pity Cord. I pity anybody that has run afoul of these humans, these aliens who are tampering with us. Ever since that night I was driving by myself in Iowa, heading back to see my uncle, who was a retired Air Force colonel. I've been having these spasms. And there was this one night when I was driving along Highway 80, and I turned off to a rest area. It was pretty late at night, and took a little nap, and I had a very weird dream. And in the dream, it was a dream that woke me up right away, as far as I know. And there's this kind of hairless, grayish, tan-skinned person with huge, dark eyes and a big mouth like that, kind of an O-shaped mouth, leaning in to look at me and to touch my head and my neck, and it was very upsetting. And I woke up right away, and it was daylight at that point, and thought, wow, I slept all night. And I started on my automobile and started progressing on towards my uncle's place, and told him about it. And he was bedridden at the time, but he said, well, that sounds like something that I used to work upon, Chester. Something I used to work upon back in my days, back out in Nevada. We did all kinds of stuff that sounds just like what you're talking about. Yeah. So he didn't really go on much after that because he lapsed into a coma. So anyway, ever since then I've been having these really weird feelings going on inside my body, like there's something inside my body trying to get out. That's all. It's nothing to be concerned about.
Yes? 23, 23, 23, 23. WWWW.
So, one thing I'd like to do for you, Mr. Rhombus, is to give you versions of what happened. In my own way. Let me do it in my own way. I'll produce witnesses for you, but I'll videotape them and I'll get information out to you. That's the way I want to do it. It's a cooperative venture between yourself and myself. You know, I have glasses just like yours. Reading glasses, in fact. It's quite a coincidence, don't you think? I hope I brought them. Yeah, they're kind of blurry now.
I've been on this planet since your century AD. I was one of Robin Hood's companions. I knew Henry VIII, Thomas More. I knew Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and Nietzsche. Goering, Gaddafi, and Reagan, and Bush, and Bush, and Bush, and Bush, and Noriega, and Koresh. Sentience. I am Tempolo of the Decada. I have been among you for centuries. Been your guide. I have knocked down your towers when they got too high. I'm the only chance you have against Dimax Corporation. Dev, it's been a while. This is gonna get himself arrested unless we do something about it. I'll take care of it. 82. Pension. Puto. Puto. How did this get here? Were you awake when you saw this?
So we decide to stop there, drawing another car beside. We have life, a cigarette remaining there for a while. Countryside was so flat, flat and wild. There was no heat around. That pale sun and cold was like me breathing. We wake up, I'll be later tomorrow. Tonight with me more. Yes, we'll keep on dreaming, keep on dreaming, keep on dreaming.
Monitors are here.
Translate subject to Mercury base. Gate ready for transfer.
Transfer approaching completion. Transfer complete.
The disappearance of John Rhombus from the face of the earth was not noticed by anyone, simply for the fact that it did not happen.
Johnny Rhombus? Yeah, I knew Johnny. We used to hang out at the dives down
Since erasure of Rhombus from Earth records.
The temperature at Mercury base is expected to dip down into the 500. Agent 22 requests inspection of Purification Chamber 7A. Request accepted.
Rhombus. Rhombus. It's time. You will know that you are on Mercury when you hear the number 92. 92. His pension came up. He became Puto. Small, plump angel. He graduated to another level. 92.
Welcome, Agent 22. Transfer Gate 7 is ready. Ah, yes. Well, you can do that in the, waiting room.
As these implants decay, you will discover that they do not perform in the way you originally believed.